All right, call the meeting of the Community and Economic Development Committee meeting at 6:30 p.m. Everyone's here, so we can strike number 3. Is there any public comments? Doesn't look like anyone's here. Got, for number 5, approve the minutes of August 19th, 2025. I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of August 19th, 2025.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Number 6, review downtown district fire alarm panel requirements for code addition. All right, so I got what Deb sent me through an email. Does everyone have a printed email on that? Okay.
Should be highlighted in purple in front of you, on the packet to your right, Alderman.
Oh, here?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
That's okay.
Too many papers here.
Yes, there's a lot of papers tonight.
So that Deb found out that Chris Lake, like Woodstock and McHenry and Bartlett, they adopted their codes from the International Building Code, International Fire Code, and NFPA, National Fire Protection Professional Association standards for mixed-use properties. And then below are examples from Woodstock and Bartlett. It is kind of cut off, so can't read it all.
So what I found in the limited research that I did was that when they do require fire alarm panels in mixed use, they do make it a part of their code separate from what we do, which we've only adopted the code under Chapter 19, in which we just adopted the International Fire Code. So we have nothing specifically spelled out for mixed use, especially in the downtown district, for fire alarm panels. However, we have asked Stan Strite from HLR here tonight to discuss that with us. He is the expert and can help us kind of sort that out and figure out what direction you'd like to go.
Okay. Thank you.
You want to talk into the mic, though?
Yeah. Just because people are watching on the stream.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, happy to help out. Like I said, you guys have adopted the 2021 International Building Code as well as the International Fire Code. That is pretty typical of almost every jurisdiction within McHenry County.
Yeah.
Your standards are pretty much the same with regards to your amendments are not outrageous. You follow chapters, actually sections 903 for sprinklers and 907 for fire alarm panels and protection systems along with smoke. I don't know if you guys have specific questions about the downtown and mixed use. So anytime that you have a mixed use building, you look at specifically as to what the mixed use is being used for. There's actually a mixed use category section in the 500 section of the book that'll tell you how the mixed use has to be separated. So if you have like an apartment above and maybe a restaurant below, not only does it have to be separated from potentially with a fire protection and sprinkler system, that floor rated assembly also has to be separated by a fire rated assembly.
Correct.
What that hour group is dependent on what the mixed use is, depending on the mixed use chart. Now, sometimes you'll get a reduction in that reduction of floor systems based on it, whether or not you have that sprinklered or not. Now, you have a lot of old buildings here in town, so you probably have a lot of buildings that don't have fire protection in general, whether it be sprinklers or fire alarms.
Correct.
So those buildings are what we call legal non-conforming. You're no different than any other community that has old downtowns like Marengo, Woodstock, Union. They've all have got similar downtowns, similar to yours, most of which are not fire protected in any way. But as we remodel these to a certain extent or change use, what I mean by changing use, so if we had a downstairs unit that once was a lawyer's office, which is what we categorize as a B use, but maybe somebody buys it and they want to turn it into a restaurant. And potentially that could now become an A2 use, an assembly use. So when we change use groups within the code, that new use group inside that shell of that use has to be code compliant for whatever's under the 2021 codes. So unless those use groups change, you're not going to see a upgrade in the fire protection systems, whether it be sprinklers or fire alarms.
So my thing was, I know what you can do, especially if I know in the next line, on line item 8 is, they're trying to possibly do a TIF downtown, so that means more remodeling, plus there's more interest in remodeling. And when you do, and you can also do, if you do enough remodeling, you can put in there, hey, put at least a fire alarm panel system in there. And then the rating of the floor in between, say if it's residential upstairs to whatever business below. If
If
you
you're
don't need to
changing
do
the use.
sprinklers as well.
Right.
I wasn't even trying to do that, and wasn't trying to go that far in advance.
So
And
yeah,
that's-
it would depend on, like, most municipalities kind of look at it as if you're doing more than 50% of interior remodeling or
Yeah.
changing the use.
Correct.
Now, a lot of times you may not have that 50% kick in, so that's kind of a fine line of kind of where you have to look, 50%, you look at, you're only going to touch drywall in most cases, and maybe do some interior partition walls. In a lot of cases, you're not touching anything structurally, foundation, roofs, so a lot of times you don't hit that 50% threshold. But it's the big thing is, are you changing the use? So that's.
I'm just wondering, and I get the 50%, I'm just, because with the TIF, and when you look at a TIF study, we probably have a bunch of actually roofs that probably will need to be upgraded if they remodeled and everything and go to code standard. Am I correct with that, Ann, with downtown?
Yeah, but, roofs, you're typically looking at, not just shingling, you're
Yeah.
talking about structural.
I don't want the structure, I don't
Right.
know without, and if they go remodel, that's the other thing we'll look at as a city is make sure, hey, is this structurally sound when you're remodeling? Because if it is, then you gotta redo that.
Right, and that's something, because it's a downtown, it's a TIF district, so you're talking about businesses and you're talking about apartments. Those all have to be submitted and applied for by a licensed professional. That is a state law in Illinois. So anytime we do commercial work, the plans have to be stamped and sealed, so they have to do some of their due diligence in saying that they are structurally sound. So if they are, and you're not touching anything, and you're not changing the use, typically you don't have to upgrade the fire protection systems.
Okay.
Like I said, it's something that you kind of look at on a case-by-case basis. I'm doing a lot of them right now in, downtowns that we represent. We're actually now, I'm starting to get, more downtown attractions to upgrading the buildings. I'm getting a lot of now apartments on second floors where we once didn't have apartments because, rentals and real estate markets, the housing markets, becoming scarce. So they're trying to find more ways to produce tenant spaces.
And
So,
that's kind of the direction we're going right now, it looks like for our downtown is more
sure. And when,
residential use up top.
and when you do upgrade to an apartment use that never was an apartment use, not only do you have to put a fire alarm, you potentially have to sprinkler it as well. Now, there is another code that we haven't mentioned, and that's called the existing building code. You
Correct.
have adopted that as well. So within the existing building code, even though when we're changing the use, let's say a restaurant, it might tell us that we have to put a fire suppression system in, a sprinkler system in, because maybe we're changing it to a restaurant. And it says if we have more than 50 people, it gets classified as a restaurant. However, if we're over an occupant load over 100, and we kick in 5,000 square feet, or we have the exit level of discharge, meaning we have a second floor restaurant, or we put patrons in below in a basement, you have to put a sprinkler system in. However, if we use the existing building code, which applies to existing buildings, they can use what they call the performance method. And in back of that book, there's kind of like what I call the point system. So design professionals can use this point system, and the reason why we have this is it's for communities to be able to occupy old buildings, so they don't stay vacant. But at the same time, it allows them to be safe. So people can use what I call the point system in the back, where if the building's required by code to be sprinklers, they can use this point system on an existing building, and let's say it's required to be sprinklered, and you get negative points if you don't sprinkler it. But then you get +4 points if you're proposing to sprinkler it. And maybe you get +2 points if you have more exits than what's required. You get plus if there's no basement. So at the end of the day, if you can show that you have enough points to qualify to be built as is, then you don't have to build that existing space under the existing code, provided that you can use the existing building code, showing that you have enough points. So if it was required to be sprinklered, using the existing building code, you can, I don't want to say get around it, but you can make it code compliant to not to have to do it. And the reason is for that is so that we can occupy these old buildings and get them occupied and get them used, but also make them safe.
Correct.
So I have a question. What I'm understanding is this already exists. And we've
You already have this adopted yep.
So we already have this and it's already
It's
adopted.
already in place, you already have the language,
Okay.
everything that I just stated is already part of your adopted codes here at the city of Harvard.
Okay. That was my question.
And that is adopted in Chapter 1901 when we adopt the International Fire Code.
Correct. International Fire Code you've adopted, the International Building
Building
Code,
Code.
and the International Existing Building Code you've adopted.
Okay.
So all of this is here, it's just making,
It's making sure that whoever who's using it, whether it be the design professional or the tenant space or we, the city, we're using it correctly. And a lot of times people don't even know that some of these sections exist, like the performance method in the back of the existing building code book. I've been doing this 23 years, and I'm still telling architects when I do walkthroughs, they're like, oh man, there's no way we can afford to put a water system in here with a sprinkler design. It's going to be 6 figures. I'm like, well, we can use the existing building code and use the performance method. And they're, what is that? And you get back to the book and you show it to them, and you're like, oh wow. Then I have this one architect now. He calls me all the time. He's like, Dan, I've been using this now for 5 years. I love it. Thank you for showing me. And we represent a lot of towns here within McHenry County, and I'm doing one here in a neighboring community. And sure enough, his name was on the print, and he used the performance method on a 1-story apartment above a little restaurant, and now they can get around. I don't want to say get around, but they're not able to put a full-fledged fire suppression system in a 1-unit apartment building. But now they're able to occupy the space that was been vacant for 20 years. But it's got a fire alarm.
Yeah, and that's the thing was making sure that when we have the new thing is at least has that. I understand the sprinkler system, suppression system
Yep.
can be costly, especially with older buildings, putting all that in. It's not like a new building where it's cheaper to put in because it's brand new. You have
Sure.
to, yeah.
It's not just that, it's even the water supply that you got to
Yeah.
get to the building.
Well,
So
what size water line do you need for a sprinkler system?
it depends.
Depends on the size?
Depends on
Like
the-
say in a building downtown, say,
So you don't know. So the new state law, also with the plumbing code, is that before we used to be able to bring one line in for fire, and we brought one in line for the domestic drinking water or the domestic use. Now, the plumbing code got rid of that because what they found, and this happened to a place not too far away from here, that domestic water sits hopefully unused, right? Because we don't deploy that sprinkler system, so that water gets stagnant. And Legionnaire's disease happened in a Pacific building not too far away from here, and they traced that Legionnaire's disease back to the stagnant of the fire system lines. So now, what the state code wants, that when you bring in water to a building for fire and domestic, you bring it under one line. So you size it according to, for the size of the suppression system and the domestic water, and then you tee it off once you get inside the building.
I know, but what size, say for average?
You don't know, because you need to know how many fixtures are in for let's say you have a restaurant, the restaurant use alone could be 1.5 inches, depending on how many fixtures that you have.
Right, I'm talking with the sprinkler system.
That you don't know either.
Because they usually take a lot of water. Big pipe.
That it does. It depends on how many levels you're going up, because you need the volume to have so much pressure, and it depends how many heads. So it's a design calculation that they have to submit along with the domestic water. So typically, you're looking at a minimum 4-inch, a lot of times.
Yeah, that's what I thought, 4 inches, big line.
Yeah.
Plus, imagine tearing up the new parking lot, new Ayer Street, putting those in.
Well, we might have to do that anyways from yesterday's meeting.
But at a bare minimum, if you're getting new tenants, depending on the use, you might get a lot of new fire alarms.
All right. And so I'm just glad, so that was my biggest concern, was making sure that was going to happen.
Yeah, like I said, it may not, depending on what they're
But at
putting in the
least, well, yeah,
space.
if there's definitely a big renovation
Right.
and what's going in there.
Right, like if they're changing it from a retail store and then somebody else buys it and wants to renovate it a little to another retail store, then you're not going to get it.
Yeah.
So it all depends on the use.
So this is all determined through the permitting, plan review, and inspection process?
Correct. Like I said, and a lot of times what, we offer and a lot of towns offer before, and I've mentioned this to you guys before, is to do a walkthrough before people sign that dotted line and make a commitment to whether they buy the building or make a lease commitment. It's something that, we offer as a service, and a lot of towns do as far as their building staff, to walk that space with the potential buyer or leasee and kind of get their thoughts of what they're doing with the space, and then we can kind of propose big picture of things that we might see. Not that we want to discourage them, but we'd rather be upfront before they sign
So they
that
know
dotted
what the
line.
cost is actually going to be.
Oh, yeah, but we just want to give them the big picture building
Yeah.
code things that we can foresee.
Yep.
That, that could be problematic after they sign that dotted line, and then they come to us with plans and be like, well, no, you actually have to do this too. And they're like, ooh, wow, I didn't really anticipate that. And we don't want to be the bad guy, but sometimes we have to be, because we have to do our due diligence of protecting the space, protecting the tenants, and protecting the town.
Correct.
But like I said, we can do like walkthroughs
Yeah.
beforehand and just kind of give them big picture items.
To that point, many years ago, I worked with before the market crash, I'd been in real estate a long time, I worked with the former city administrator and a buyer, and we walked through 20 buildings that the city deemed were below standards. And I took the city administrator because I wanted my buyer to know what the city was going to require if he was going to purchase these 20 buildings. But I'm involved in the city and I'm involved in real estate, and so I knew that. Sometimes I think a lot of the realtors and a lot of the buyers don't realize they have that benefit of going to, just making that a little, and again, as we go through the TIF and that type of thing, making some of those things known just through our marketing efforts, that these are services available to benefit everyone.
Sure.
The city, the buyers, the sellers, to be able to get this done.
Yeah, and at the end, it's helpful for all. It's helpful for, us as building staff, because we already kind of know they know what our expectations, they know what they're getting themselves into, and it's beneficial for everybody all around. Now, we get into sometimes an uncomfortable situation where they're looking for us to help design and get into costs, and that's not what we're going to do. We're going to help them with, big building code, foreseeable problems or issues that we can foresee, and help them, give them a little push in the right direction, and even meet with their design professionals and say, hey, did you think of this? Or did you think of that? And I'm not telling you how to design it, but these are for things that I've been seeing in my, tenure of doing this, and I could see this a way of possibly, designing it this way to make it work. So.
Well, thank you. Any other questions? All right.
Do you have an idea of what it costs for a fire alarm system? What, like a monthly fee they charge for that?
So they're all different. So the city of Woodstock has their own tower and their own monitoring system that's actually city owned. Other municipalities, you can have it monitored through ADT or whoever the local fire department, recommends or doesn't recommend or has their monitoring services with. A lot of them are ADT. As long as they go through their dispatch system, then it can be used, unless the municipality has their own in-house system. And I think Woodstock's the only one around. I know that you have to utilize their system. It's right around $75 to $100 a month.
Yeah.
It also depends on what you package it with. I know there's also security systems and other things that you can put with it. Yeah.
I was minimum for this.
Yeah, that I don't know,
Yeah.
but there's different ways that you can package it.
E24 is another big one.
Yeah. So, but we're happy to help in any ways you need it. So Ann knows how to get a hold of me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, number 7, review equitable transit orientating development plan.
Okay, so if you recall at the last city
Thank you.
council meeting, thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
At the last city council meeting, we adopted a resolution, and this is based on the RTA Community Planning Grant that we received back in January. This was a $145,000 planning grant. $137,750 is funded through the RTA, and our share is $7,250.
How much was that?
145 total.
Okay.
In front of you, and I provided it in advance as well, is a plan scope of services. There's only 7 pages here with a lot of information. If you've had time to read it, great. If not, you can read it after the meeting, prior to the city council meeting. Basically, we're not taking any action tonight anyway. This is more of an informational informational document so that you understand how this is going to look in the next year or so. So this project aims to involve the residents and create in the downtown area some diverse housing opportunities, making the area more walkable, promoting commercial investments, cultural vitality, improving our transportation sources, attracting new businesses, and improving parking. And these goals were based on a meeting we had with the RTA, the mayor, our city engineer, and myself, just looking at the vision and the things we worked on through the strategic planning and what we would like in the downtown area and what we would like some of these things to look at moving forward. If you look at page 2, you'll see that blue planning area. This is the area that the study is going to entail. So we actually mapped this out with the RTA in determining what area we wanted to include in the scope of work. And so that is the area that was determined to be the most beneficial for what we're looking to accomplish. Page 3 starts out with the first task, and we aren't here yet. Currently, the scope of work is being reviewed by PACE and the RTA. So this is just a draft at this point. Whether or not any changes are made is on their end. But once the scope of work is actually approved, we'll begin with task 1, and that will be a project kickoff meeting, and a steering committee will be established. Again, this is a year-long process, and through the remaining pages of the document, you can see the various tasks and how that will progress into a final plan. And this will all be funded through this grant financing, as well as the money that we have to come up with on our end, which will be paid out of our Economic Development Fund. If you remember, during the budgeting time, we did budget a certain amount for program development, and this will be covered under that line item in the budget. So as of right now, we're holding off on the downtown master plan, and the reason why, and we did budget for that in the Economic Development Fund as well. The reason why is because a lot of the things we were going to try to incorporate in the RFP for that master plan, we were able to incorporate in this plan for this study to be done. And so we felt that because we'd already received the grant dollars and we'll be able to accomplish some of that here, there's no need to pursue spending more money at this time till we find out the final evaluation on this plan.
Makes sense.
And then we can go from there.
Let somebody else pay for some of the work.
Correct. Exactly.
And
You got it.
And then just quickly, as I look at the blue map and kind of move ahead to our TIF, they kind of look like they overlay each other. Am I kind of looking, does that, okay,
They do.
just making sure
Yeah,
I'm
that's a-
seeing that correctly.
That's a very good observation. So are there any questions at this time regarding this planning grant and how this program is going to kick off? We'll be keeping everyone updated as we progress. This is something new to me as well, so I'll be learning as I go. We've never done anything like this before, so.
Do we have some target dates?
I don't have any target dates yet. I think those are going to depend on when our grant manager, or I'm sorry, our program manager gets back to us with the final scope from the RTA and from PACE.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you. Any more questions on that? All right. Moving on to line item number 8, review the TIF downtown eligibility study.
Okay, this has been going on for a while, if you remember. I believe this was, the approval was given to go forward with this almost a year ago, if not longer. These take a little bit of time. As you can see, there's quite a bit of valuable information in this report if you've had time to read it thoroughly. And as Alderwoman Platt-Miller pointed out, it's overlapping in the district that we just discussed with the equitable transit plan. This downtown district was, or this district map was determined by city council. If you remember, you did do some modifications to the district at one point, and this was the final agreement that everybody made on the area that would be of study. So this is the area of consideration when TSCA did their plan and their evaluation. And there are pictures and different statements of obsolescence and maps indicating the conditions that are outlined in the report, the deterioration, and the things that actually will designate us as TIF eligible. And if you see on page 11, that explains that we are eligible for a TIF district. And again, that's summarized on the last page as well. And all of those reasonings and the data that support that are given throughout the document. So this is the first step in declaring a TIF. Declaring a TIF district is a lengthy process, and there are a lot of steps to it. One of the things that needs to be considered before we move forward is going back to your point, this map overlaps. So at this time, we need to consider whether or not it makes sense to move forward with the TIF when we're doing a study in the same district that we've already received a grant for, and we don't know what the outcome of that study is going to be or where that's going to propel us as far as our plan in the future. The second thing to take into consideration is that if a municipality declares a TIF, it's a 23-year program. If there is no redevelopment in the project area within 7 years, the TIF has to be dissolved. At this point, we do not foresee any development on the horizon. There is one inducement resolution currently for the district. However, those improvements to that building will not generate enough revenue in the increment to reimburse for those expenses. So you will need to decide at some point whether or not you want to proceed with this TIF based on this study. This study is the first step. The second step would be come up with a redevelopment plan, which we would work further with the TIF developers in establishing that. And then step 3 would be to actually adopt the district as was decided. And you could go back and look at that district, and if you wanted to add or modify that in any way, you could do it at that time. And then from that point, you would do your public notices, you would have to consult with your joint review board, and then have your public meetings and your hearings. So that's where we're at this point, and there's really no action to be taken on that either. There is no shelf life on this eligibility study itself.
That was going to be my, you knew I was going there.
So although, in moving
Might-
forward, as we develop, it's possible that those conditions could change,
Yeah,
right?
like-
You know.
The repavement of Air Street kind of
Correct,
changed
and I did
that.
note that, when he had that in there, I said, we did just redo Air Street, and
I know there's
obviously.
part of it still not done,
Yes,
but
he's been working on this for quite a long time, so there will be changes as we
Could you-
go, which could change the eligibility as well, although those changes would have to happen quite rapidly
Yep.
for that to occur.
Could you include the old city hall in there, which this guy's gonna be renovating it?
The old city hall, that would be part of the enterprise zone.
Yeah.
That is
Oh,
not part
okay.
of the TIF, yeah.
So they can't be the same.
Well, they could be in the same, but they wouldn't be able to take care of include the same benefit, or be taking advantage of the same benefits. And the enterprise zone would be, the new police station would be included in the TIF if we went forward. But again, would that development itself generate enough increment
Okay.
to sustain?
I thought it just helped though.
Yeah, it would help. It would help if it developed enough, if it generated enough increment, yes.
Just as a matter of speaking, I think this is great that we have this in place with having that grant. Because depending on what that grant says and what we can learn from that grant, that could help us as a community really define the TIF district more. And possibly, they may say, hey, this is what you need to do, and we might be able to find people who will want to do that.
Particularly when it's in the downtown area, and the majority of the study also encompasses the majority of this this equitable plan. And the fact that the equitable plan also involves the community input and the steering committee and those kind of things, there's more inclusiveness in that
Than
study as
just a
well.
TIF would have in itself.
Right,
Yeah.
Thank you for the information.
thank you.
okay.
Any other questions on the TIF study? No, from Mike? No?
Nope.
Nothing. All right. Moving forward to line item number 9, approved Dacey's site assessment contract.
Okay, so I'll just start with some background on this. I'm not sure how much information you're already aware of as a group, so.
Yeah, there might not be much.
Okay, yeah. So this started back in the fall. Around October, we were, with the assistance of the McHenry County Economic Development Group, advised that there was grant availability through the DCEO for site readiness planning. And this is a regional site readiness program that allows for funding for long-range planning for future development. So we were able to apply for this grant, and we received $145,000, in which the city has to match $35,760. The grant was awarded in January, and from that point, the process began, although it was stalled around April. and picked back up again around July. And that involved contacting some property owners and getting our city engineers on board to try to develop the plan and do the request for proposals to get all of the contractors in line to be able to complete the site readiness. So that's the stage we're at today. This site readiness will look at phase 1 and phase 2 development of the parcels surrounding the area that's in the document for readiness for future economic development. And if you see in the document, you can see the acreage covered in the parcels that will be studied, and then what the actual assessments entail. There's several different assessment groups that will be involved. All of this is being managed through our city engineer, which is the reason why we are signing a contract with CBEL. And the price of the final contract agreement for us to comply with this first stage of the grant award is found on page 1 of 5 under the cost estimate worksheet of $177,982. That would be the contract that you are approving, and that falls within our grant award and match total of $179,870. This is a reimbursable grant, so I would fund the payments through the general fund for the grant portion and the match through the economic development portion, again, using the program development funds that we approved at the budget workshop back in the spring.
Who funds this grant?
The Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, DC,
And that is
Illinois.
Illinois.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yes, it's a state grant.
Okay, thank you. Talking about reimbursements, just
Yes.
Do you guys have any questions on this?
wanted to make sure that the entity was in business that would pay us back.
Yes. And this is reimbursable. This is probably going to be a one-time reimbursement. The grant deadline is actually the end of January because we had some delays over the summer in getting all of this going and getting all of our ducks in a row with this. We won't be able to complete this in the timeline, but an extension is available. So I'll be asking for that once this is approved, and we'll probably be pushing this into the spring because a lot of this work, particularly the archaeological
Yes.
work, can't be done in the winter. So, and it can't be done until this is on some farmland that needs to be harvested prior
harvest
to
as well.
them being able to begin as well. So I would need for this a recommendation to send to city council for final approval.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that,
Go ahead.
I was going to try and phrase it correctly, that we recommend city council approve the Dacey site assessment contract. Does that sound about right?
And I got a second from Alderman Hoeflich. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we have to do roll call because money? Okay, yeah, my bad.
It's a contract.
Yep, contract. All right, Alderwoman Platt-Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Hoeflich,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lancaster,
Yes.
Alderman Perkins, yes. 4-0.
Thank you.
All right. I don't, unless someone else does, for strategic vision.
I have a little update
Okay.
for you guys. I did say that I would look into the Arts and Art Council. I have been able to do some preliminary research utilizing programs that were at one time active in Harvard that are no longer, meaning Harvard Arts. Harvard Harmony, which is mostly towards the school. Harvard Arts was with the school and not. There are a couple of different ways that the city could go about doing this. One would require direct involvement from the city council. Another would require more community involvement, so I'm still researching those. My thoughts personally is because of our small budget and our limited time with city council, that maybe a community-based
Yeah, I
to
would think
start-
it'd be better with
to,
community-based,
yeah,
yeah.
to start, with just maybe some members at large who are involved in the city. And so that's kind of what I've come up with so far. I've talked to some past members of people who were involved in Harvard Arts, one of whom happens to be a city council member, who have expressed interest. Currently, just so you know, as far as public art goes in Harvard, we've got basically three things. We've got the mural at 5 Points, we have the cow, and we do have that wonderful addition of the picture spot. And actually now to the storyboard.
The story, yes.
So that's, that's three public arts displays, which is, other communities our size have 3 times that amount. So just to give you an idea of, where we're at compared to other communities of about 10,000.
Yeah.
And that's throughout the state. Again, I just wanted to give everybody an update. I am looking into it. And hopefully, as we develop our strategic plan, there'll be something that comes to fruition as well.
Well, thank you. Anyone else?
I do. We talked, at a city council meeting a few months ago, we talked about fences for corner lots. And I think you said we were going to send it to the staff to look into it. And it was just a reminder that we should do something about it before next spring.
Okay. I guess, direct staff, that's more new business than the vision.
That's new business, isn't it?
Oh, we were still on number 10.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Jumping ahead.
Anything else for a strategic vision? No? Okay. Then now we're in new business.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about bringing up the fence thing on corner lots again. And
We got it. Thank you. Well, yeah,
and
you
said
guys-
something about sending it to staff, but it's been forgotten about, and I just wanted to be a reminder that we should do something about it, because I think it should be done, because it's a financial burden on people that really don't need to, no reason to get it.
Can you remind staff
As long as
what
it's
your
safe.
request was, please?
Pardon?
Can you remind staff what your request was regarding fences on corner lots?
About having, can you help me, you know what I'm talking about, how to word it? About the corner lots?
Yeah, we talked about it, and certain corner lots don't really block vision if you put a fence up,
Right.
like yours, for example. But other corner lots would be a problem and block vision. So I
Right.
think what you wanted to do was have it be like a staff's determination of whether it would be.
Well, I just didn't want to see, why should everybody get hurt if there's just like one or two in the whole, few in the whole city, why not make nobody get it? Or have them get a variance and spend $500 to get one and waste city staff where we can just get it done.
Well, because at some city corner lots, it would be an issue.
No, that's what I said. Why don't we just say if it's within 10 feet of a driveway where there's going to be an issue? Where,
I see, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Why penalize any corner lot in the whole town? People have to maintain it, they have to pay taxes on it, why not be able to use it?
Right.
Because mine was pretty much a dead space. I couldn't use it, I just had to mow it. Couldn't use it for nothing. Now I could use it. I go in all the time.
Okay, staff will evaluate the current ordinance for possible alternatives, including staff determination and
I'll be willing to
Other,
come down and help you with it too, if you want.
other ways to determine whether or not a fence could be placed on a corner lot without going for a variance.
Correct.
Got it.
Put some extra guidelines in there so there ain't no issues. I think there was an issue in Park Point years ago, and that's what changed it.
Shadow Creek.
Shadow Creek.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll look into it.
But I don't think everybody should be penalized for that. A lot of people don't want to come to the zoning meeting and pay the fee and go through all the hassle.
We'll have that by December.
The only new business I had, but the mayor's not here, so I was wondering if you know, is there gonna be anything for planning and zoning in November on Oak Grove?
No.
Okay,
Nothing
sure.
for planning and zoning in November.
okay. Any other new business? No? Right. Number 12, closed session to discuss section 2C1 personnel. I was motion to go into closed session.
I'll make a motion that we go into closed session.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Go ahead.
I have a motion to come back into open session.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And since there's no action, I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Stopped, right?
Hold on.
No.
Now it is.
I'm sure we screwed up somehow on that, but who cares?